Whee! It's part 3 of I sold my soul for a used dishwasher and would like it back. I had a dream about this creepypasta, man. I had a dream I imagined my own ending to the story. I imagine that the ending I came up with isn't what's gonna happen. My ending was that, I'm not even gonna tell you because I might accidentally spoil the story. You know what I mean? Okay, I've got me water, and I'm ready to go. I'm ready to rumble. It's been difficult to write this third and final part of my tale, so this is the finale, boys. This is it. Honestly, no matter how I try to write it, nothing truly conveys what I've come to experience. I'll do my best. We left off with Gary, and... oh wait, I'm reading it wrong. We left off with Gary and I finding ourselves in hell, which in itself is a rather precarious the search for my soul had been a rather tenuous one, and as we ventured out from that warehouse and into the unknown, I felt a strange sense that everything was going to be okay. How wrong you were. By the way, can I just actually no, I'll write it at the end. I lost Gary on the first day. Fuck! No, Gary! He's my favourite character. Come on, man. I want Gary. We traversed across the landscape of hell, which is far less pedestrian friendly than you might think. Mountains scored the horizon into... no, I'm reading it wrong. Mountains scored the horizon, broken apart by deep ravines that disappear into darkness. The sky was ablaze, and the lightning that rained down from its inferno left fissures large enough to swallow you whole. I can't read. I'm just looking at all these words like, what does this mean? This makes no sense to me. I'm gonna crush this phone in my bare hands if I don't see a word that I understand in the next 5 minutes. Winds strong enough to strip flesh from bone came and went, and carried with them the howls of those too unfortunate to get caught in its mist. If I'd came here on vacation, I'd give it 2 out of 5 stars. It's a bit of a harsh review, to be honest. 2 out of 5. It can't be that bad. Although, to be honest, I haven't been in hell. To my one viewer at home, if you've been in hell, give this video 5 stars out of 2. Please, I need the stars. That should be a new rating system on YouTube. Like, you rate YouTube videos, like, some out of 5 stars. That would be better than, like thing that they've got going on. We crawled and stumbled across the cliff face. No, let me read that again. Let me just read that again. Let me just give that a double take. We crawled and stumbled across the cliff face, overlooking a vast expanse of land that stretched farther than the eye could see. Wilted forests and bodies of grey water littered the expanse, with figures and shapes darting around wildly. That's kind of a funny image in my mind. Got these... you're just walking around, you see this blurry figure just zoom past you. That blurry figure might have been like Hitler himself, but you wouldn't have noticed because he just goes too fast. You would have missed your chance for an autograph from Hitler himself. You just see him like in the distance. You get your pen and paper out, and you're just like, Mr. Hitler, can I get an autograph? But he just zooms past you, and you don't get a chance. Like, dang it, maybe next time I'll get him. While we crawled across the jagged and crumbling rocks, lightning struck between us, which sent Gary tumbling down into the chaos. No, Gary, please, no. He cupped his genitals the entire fall as he rolled and collided with the stone. Nice one, Gary, nice one. He knows how to protect himself. Ladies, get yourself a mans who can protect himself. So that were kind of lame. I managed to reach the end of the cliff face, only to find myself staring outwards at another stretch of horrors and obscenities. I was getting the impression that there wasn't a great deal of aesthetic variance in hell. I silently wished Gary the best of luck and continued onwards. Don't leave Gary behind. No, he's the best character. Gary, will we join with you? I hope. You're literally carrying this story. I didn't really have a plan in mind. Hell, as far as I knew, could be infinite in size, and the likelihood of just stumbling upon my soul could be less than likely than 2 grains of rice adrift at sea bumping into each other. That's a metaphor. That is a straight up metaphor. If you don't understand, leave a comment below, and I'll tell you that you're wrong. I got something in my eye. Hold on. You know what? To delay this story even more, let me just go get a drink. Came back from my drink session. In fact, to delay this story even more, let me just adjust my seat, I guess. I don't know. To delay the story even more, let me just turn my phone back on. To delay the story even more, let me just scratch my armpit real quick. The only thing that was fueling my soulless being was a pure sense of annoyance at the entire ordeal. So wait, you're soulless, so you've got no emotions, but you still feel fear and annoyance. This is a whole bunch of bullshit. This isn't what I had in mind. I had faced a great deal of inconvenience thus far, and didn't want to admit that I'd wasted the better part of a week. I eventually found myself a quaint little cavern, overlooking what I'm pretty sure was an ocean of feces. Nice. I folded my jacket into a pillow and sat down to enjoy some quality me time, where I could regroup and gather myself. Just some quality me time in the caverns of hell. I'd get some rest until morning. Maybe lead a one-man search for Gary and plan my next course of action. I was relatively certain that by the end of the next day, I'd be well on my way home and be able to put the entire thing behind me. I was in hell for over 6 months, so I guess it didn't really go to plan. What happened to Dave? I think he died, actually. I hope Dave is okay. I hope he didn't die and crack his skull open. But I'm pretty sure that he did, because he said he got like blasted across the room. So I think he's dead. Maybe we'll find him in hell. I don't know. Hopefully Gary doesn't die. I mean, it's not like he can die because he's a ghost. But I hope he doesn't die. I hope the Ghostbusters don't come and get him. Less than an hour after settling down in my hellscape abode, I found myself being woken with a spear inches from my face. Well, I remember thinking, this is interesting. The man who held the spear was nothing but skin pulled tightly over thin bones, his eyes sunken deep into his skull, and his lips well receded, revealing his broken and blackened teeth. Coating his skin was a mixture of bodily mutations and tribal pain that I sensed were largely a fashion choice. Behind him stood others, similarly styled and equally deranged. All of them were clones of each other. They all looked exactly the same. That is racism. Never having been much of a fight my way out kind of lad, I pretty much surrendered on the spot. What a beta cook incel soy boy. Am I right, guys? Am I right? All you alphas out there watching this video? Before I could protest the necessity, Before I could protest the necessity of it all, I found myself bound by my wrists and dragged from my dwelling, poked, and prodded with sticks and stones along the way. Outside of the cave stood what I can only describe as a roaming hellish gypsy brigade. Strange horse-like creatures pulled along obscene carts built from bone and skin. Those carts are just obscene. You can't have carts like that. Behind each lay a trail of poor souls bound the same as I, connected in a train and pulled behind each of the carts. My captors had innumerable friends, all of which marched and chanted and yelled crazily, taunting their prisoners as they went. I was attached to the back of one trail, and the gypsy brigade moved onwards with me in tow. I don't know how long we marched. Hell had no day or night cycle, no change in season, and certainly no calendars. I marked the passing of time as the best I could. The only real judge I had was the growth of my hair and beard. He gets a beard and hair. I'd long since accepted that it would take me at least 3 months to grow out what could potentially be described as a semi-successful beard. Shut up, man. You don't know what you're talking about. And whilst I was pulled along across hell, I went from clean-shaven to Santa Claus. We would march in day in day out, resting only for a few sparing hours for whatever rest we could get before being dragged along again. We were fed filth-coated bowls of a gruel-like substance that I'm pretty sure the horse creatures excreted. I've never been a picky eater, but it took a few days before I even dared dip into the putrid mixture. Right, that stuff for breakfast, you know. I won't go into too much detail about my time captured in hell. Truthfully, every day brought a new nightmare, each one grimmer, each one more horrifying than the last. We were led through ceaseless valleys that held grand pits of the damned, who writhed in their own misery. We trekked through deep caverns that buried into the earth, where spider-like creatures the size of mammoths roamed in numbers unknown. I don't want to hear that. Don't talk about that. When we reached an ocean, boats were assembled, and we sailed through storms across oceans of shit and blood and bile, bearing witness to indescribable beasts whose lengths could span cities as they erupted upwards from the water's depths, bringing with them a bellowing cry that would deafen ears. We miserably trudged through swamps of long-dead trees with bubbling pools of acid that exploded outwards and coated more than one of us, whom immediately writhed down into a puddle of their own being. If I had a soul, I'd probably have been pretty depressed. But it said you were annoyed earlier, so I think he's lying about... Imagine if it, at the end of the story, it turns out that, turns out I had my soul the whole time. Turns out Dave was lying. He was lying to me. Maybe my soul was the friends we made along the way. You know? Maybe that's where my soul was. My phone's gone off again. When my ankles could take no more, I crawled. When I could crawl no more, I was pulled until the skin peeled from my back. After a lifetime, we reached our destination. We were pulled into a grand encampment, a city of skin-forged tents and raging bonfires. Spikes adorned and severed heads were littered with street lights, like street lights. Come on, get it together, man. You need to read it properly. Read the story properly and stop interrupting it. Tribal savages roamed and sung and chanted and danced in every direction. Wasn't really my kind of scene, you know. Various other caravans were unloading their hordes of captives, all lined up and chained like dogs. Forced to my knees, I was made to join them. We were left there to rot. Occasionally a savage would approach and inspect one of us. Arms lifted and groped, legs tapped and stretched. Mouths pulled open and examined. Sometimes they were then ignored, other times they were untied and taken away, not to return. I imagine they went to a happier, cheerier place. Maybe Morocco. Morocco's not a cheery place. I've seen it. I've seen Morocco. It's poo-poo. I don't like it. We slept on the floor, we pissed and shit on the floor. Scraps were flung at us, often just out of reach. Dignity was in sparse supply in those moments. As time passed, those who I had been brought in with dwindled one by one. Some perished, others were taken. One chewed through his chain, reducing his teeth to bone. To broken, shattered stubs, sorry. I'm messing it all up. I'm sorry guys, I don't mean to mess it all up. You know, I'm only human. Others came and were changed, but I remained. If they were selling us, my captors would need to offer a pretty substantial discount if they wanted to be rid of my sorry soulless arse, it seems. Of my sorry soulless arsehole. I retreated inwards, spending my days staring into space as caravan after caravan rolled into the camp, selling their wares and trading in suffering. Psst! Hey, dude! I snapped out of a daze at the words. It was the first language I'd heard since arriving that I understood. I turned my head, as best as I could, to look behind me, and saw another poor captured man trying to get my attention. He wore tattered torn overalls and the remains of a black beanie. Oh hey Dave, it's Dave! He's not dead! I told you. Hey, it's you. Remember me? I opened a portal and got us here. Fun times, right? Crazy times. So where have you been? Dave had seen better days. Ragged ginger curls hung down from his beanie, matted like a dog. His face was battered and bruised, and he looked as though he hadn't eaten in a week. Oh, and he had one eye now. Or did he only have one eye already? I couldn't remember. Poor Dave, man, he's all beaten and crippled. He's got he's like all disabled and that. Poor man, he's gonna have to go in disabled toilets. Oh, I'm not bad myself. Did some sightseeing, worked on my calves, got a bit of a tan. Oh, I'm pretty sure I'm a slave, which is something. You got a saw back though, right? Man, look at this place. Crazy stuff, am I right? I realised that I didn't like Dave that much. What are you talking about? He's a great guy. Nope, still soulless. I guess that's kind of being a blessing, really. Puts things into perspective. Really? The demon I sold it to is like right over there. He pointed off towards a caravan where a being that was more blob than man sat surrounded by various jars of peculiar glowing liquids. He had small, ill-fitting glasses and 4 arms, each of which was scratching a different orifice that coated his form. The caravan was coated in ornate ancient jars that each radiated a small flicker of light. Each one had a name, and each one seemed to be vibrating furiously, causing a rattle to the cart. Yeah, that's the guy. I found him not long after we wound up here. Figured he'd help a dude out, considering our pre-existing business relationship. The dude sold me for some sheets. Huh, well that's kind of neat. Kind of annoying, what with the whole slave thing that I've currently got going for me. I awkwardly manoeuvred myself into a sitting position and stared at the caravan. It's difficult to explain, but now that it had been pointed out to me, I could sort of feel a presence coming from the jars. One in particular, it sat at the bottom of the cart, slightly damaged and appeared to be leaking, surrounded by a few other equally damaged wares. My soul was in the discount remainder bin. Would that feel when your soul's in a discount bin? Oh, that's when Gary showed up again. Yes, now Gary's back. Gary's back. Everybody give a round of applause for Gary. Where the fuck have you been? Was pretty much all I said. I sat there, bound and chained and displayed like a piece of damaged fruit, staring at my spectral companion that I hadn't seen in what felt like the better part of a year. My wrists were cut to the bone from my restraints, but I wasn't the only one who had a change of appearance. Gary wore a hat now, more of a crown actually. It looked to me made of bones and twigs. Gary's a king? Gary's, in a monarchy? His once perpetually disgruntled expression had softened, seeming sunken with a hint of sorrow. His once proud, ghastly erection was now but a humble semi. I dared not to think what he had endured those past months, but his appearance said it all. Behind him was a small group of the damned, a baker's dozen at most. Each one of them wore strange cloaks that covered their forms, their faces expressionless and gaunt. When Gary stopped in front of me, they fell on their knees and began to chant and bow clumsily. I guess Gary was their leader now, or their god. I don't even know. Gary was always a god. He's a god to me, in my heart. Upon seeing me, Gary turned towards them, made a few gestures and removed his crown, placing it on the ground. A few of his flock began to tremble, A few burst into howling tears. One by one, they all departed. Gary looked at me and shrugged. I don't know. A single ghost tear running down his ghost cheek. It was all ridiculous, honestly. Hey, I said. Gary nodded. Gary approached and began fiddling with my restraints. In a few moments, he had freed me, and none of my captors seemed to notice. I stood up, dusted myself off, and threw up slightly as blood rushed to my feet. I stretched my back and coughed fiercely. Gary gestured his head towards the soul-covered cavern. I nodded, acknowledging that I'd seen it. Gary's gonna save the day. Yes now, Gary. Big bro fist to Gary. Well, let's just take it and get out of here. Come on, Gary. You can't steal a soul, buddy. Dave pipped up from behind. Oh, and could I get a hand over here too? Hell's overrated. You can't steal a soul, but it's his soul. No, well, I guess it was sold. I don't know. I turned back towards the caravan, and then back to Dave, then to Gary. You know what? I'm done. Let's just say that we tried. We gave it a solid effort. Fuck this. Fuck hell. Fuckity fuck being a hell slave. Fuck you, Dave. Fuck the dishwasher. Fuck your goddamn boner, Gary. Fuck you and your boner. I collapsed, completely finished. Some may say that I was overreacting, but even a soulless husk had its limits. If only I could just rest. Damn, he's going in on all these fools. What did Gary do? Gary didn't do no. Gary didn't react. He'd looked down upon me, sighed and disappeared into nothingness, as though it was the most casual gesture in the world. I was alone again. I wasn't counting Dave. Fuck this. Fuck whatever that is. I was walking forward now, my blood boiling. I don't know if it was down to the proximity to my soul, but I was starting to feel raw, unfiltered emotion seeping into my skin. Fuck souls. Fuck hell so goddamn much. Dude, a little help. Dave's voice faded into the background. I reached the soul trader, stood before him defiantly. He looked a bit confused and a bit offended. I bet he held his hand up. Give me my soul. Now! He blinked. He itched his slime-stained scalp. A strange mucus dripped from one of his many orifices. He didn't seem to mind. He spoke back in broken tongue, and then turned away. He was like, my name is my daughter's name. That's what I imagine he said. Give me my damn soul. Don't be a douche. I reached forward and grabbed the jar that was calling to me. It was cold to the touch and felt far lighter than it should have. The blob guy looked at me, his eyes going wide. He pointed with all 4 arms and all 20 fingers yelling. The savages around the encampment had begun to take notice. They muttered and whispered between one another and began to approach and encircle me. Uh-oh. Guys in trouble. Guys in big trouble. I took steps backwards, gripping the jar close to my chest like a child grabs a pillow. Look, things might have gotten a little heated, granted, but now if you just let me walk away with my soul, we can put all of this behind us. A spear flew in my direction, missing my soul by mere inches. Now that's completely uncalled for. Our main character's a badass, dude. I ran. I don't know where I planned and running to, but I don't know what that doesn't make any sense. But it felt like the best option at the time. I passed Dave as I went and sought him the kind of look that said, "Sorry about leaving you in hell, and fuck you." What? But Gary's cool. I left the encampment at full sprint. The savages quickly in pursuit. Nothing but open valley stretched around. The sky still burning and raging at my feet, aching and my heart pounding. My brow dripped sweat. My fingers trembled. I was not letting go of my soul. I fell hard. I slipped down a small ravine, landing on my back. The jar flew off in an unknown direction. I felt warm liquid trickle down my leg. I'll say it was blood, but it was probably urine. Wee boy. Wee boy. The hell savages were on me in no time. They circled like sharks, weapons outstretched. One of them carried a flaming torch, another a barbed whip. I sensed my plan had failed miserably. I spat out dirt. The jar was a few feet away from me. I began to crawl towards it as the lash of the whip came cracking down on my back. I screamed, spittles of blood dusting the ground. I reached a jar, another whip. I felt the skin on my back tear open. I raised the jar, another whip. I felt the barbs crack bone. I brought the jar down to the earth as hard as I could. As I heard the air break as the whip began to bear down again, the jar shattered. Nothingness. This is getting intense. I need a drink again. I was adrift, somewhere and everywhere. I was nothing and everything and something all at once. That doesn't make any sense. I felt no pain or ache, wasn't tired or hot or cold or stressed or scared, just completely and pure nothingness. Wherever I was, I felt as though I'd been there before. I could sense nothing, but at the time, everything was heightened and overloading. I have no experience in it. But yeah, I imagine it's what meth felt like. Yeah dude, I'm a meth addict and I can confirm. I'm not a meth addict. Then, as though nothing had happened at all, I was back. I felt different but the same. It was disorientating. I could see nothing but the ground, and slowly the pain that radiated my body returned. I forced myself onto my back, which burned fiercely. I was still in hell. Great. The savages stood around me, eyes widened and weapons gripped. A few of them scowled, others looked frightened. I stood up and waited for the inevitable killing strike. It never came. One by one, they began to turn tail and run, fleeing back to the encampment. Soon enough, I was stood alone, surrounded by discarded weapons. They were afraid of our main character, because I bet you, like, when the soul went into him, he just got his six-pack back. And looked at his six-pack and was like, "Dude, no, don't beat me up." Well, that was odd. I guess it was kind of one of those things you have to roll with. Exhausted, I scanned the horizon, decided upon a nice-looking hill to walk towards, and set off. Upon my first step, the ground beneath me crumbled, and I was swallowed by the abyss. I faintly heard Dave's voice as a whisper in the distance. "You can't steal a soul, buddy." I could see them beneath me as I fell, thousands of souls all piled up upon one another, surrounded by my nothingness, all reaching upwards towards me. I landed up atop the pit, hard. This is killing me. The writhing mess of flesh accepted me, hands outstretching and pulling me inwards. Within moments, I was dragged deep within. I felt the pressure of it all on my chest, the air being forced out of my lungs. I tried to scream, but fingers wrestled into my lips and began to force their way down my throat. With my one free hand, I reached upwards towards the darkness, as I got what I knew would be my last glimpse of anything. Light exploded overhead. Pillars of brilliantly white fury descended, burning away at the accursed souls who pulled me downwards. 1,000 shrieks killed my eardrums. Withdrawing, I looked up, blinded, and saw the most beautiful sight that any being has ever witnessed to. Gary! Descended slowly, the light radiating from his glorious form. He floated above me, his angelic erection stronger and prouder than ever. Yes, now Gary's gonna save the day. He reached out his hand and took mine. He pulled me from perdition. We rose together, and we hugged. Gary's hand locked around my wrist as I hung beneath him. We rose and rose until we had left the abyss that I had been called to, until hell was but a faint glimpse below. We ascended through the infernal sky, and as I closed my eyes and embraced every moment of my Saviour's presence. Gary, are you an angel? Gary's probably God. I don't know whether I actually asked or whether I merely thought it. Within my mind, a gentle and comforting voice replied. I don't recall what it said. This guy's not a very good storyteller. The light grew brighter and brighter until it was everything. I awoke in my apartment, and that was that. So he's back. He's got it. And Gary was an angel this whole time. Gary was God himself. Who would have known? Turns out I was in hell for about a day and a half, which is mildly frustrating. I'm pretty sure I have my soul back now, which is cool. I don't feel as empty anymore. I still have the dishwasher too. I'm not really sure what to do with it. Sell it? Sell it for a soul, of course. I guess I'll just sell it for scrap or something. I could dream again. I could dream again now. I must have slept for the better part of 3 days after my return. I'm not really sure what to make of my experience. I guess it'll take me some time to piece everything together and come to terms with what I experienced. If that's possible. I don't see the dead anymore either. The streets are once again only occupied by the living and the homeless. Yeah, that includes Gary too. No, Gary's gone. That's okay though, I suppose. I won't forget what he did. I won't forget his face. I won't forget the memories we had together. I won't forget you, Gary. Even if I don't quite understand it, I think he's still here. Every now and then I catch a glimpse of something in the corner of my eye, something that looks a hell of a lot like a disembodied penis, and I find comfort in that. He's my friend. Kind of a shame about Dave though. Well, fuck Dave. Dave is a prick. So that was the end of the story. That's it. I finished the story. It was good. It's not a creepypasta, obviously, because, you know, it's not scary, but it's just a good story. I liked it. I liked it a lot. Gary's my favourite character in literature, and I'm sure he's your favourite too. This video's kind of rushed. I kind of just got out of bed. I was like, I need to make this video, because I was supposed to make it. I was supposed to record it like ages ago, but I decided not to for some reason. So I've just decided to do it now, and I've decided to do it when I'm not very comedically feeling it. You know what I mean? So this was a shit video. This was a shit way to end this glorious story. Could have been great, but no, I just had to ruin it. Stupid old me had to ruin it once again. But yeah, that's it. So bye. Bye. See you later, I guess.
Come on now.